Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the InnerFight Podcast. My name is Mark Smith. I am your host, and yes, we have made it. Today is not just another episode. Today is a milestone, number 1,000. It's pretty nuts, actually. If you're into podcasting, if you know about podcasting, if you've read about podcasting, something like 95 or 97% of podcasts don't make it past like 10 or 15 episodes. So by getting past that, I was in the top 5 anyway. That has never really bothered me. It has never actually really been a goal to get to 1,000, but we are here. Loads of really cool conversations along the way. I've managed to connect, and that's why we started the show. I managed to connect with a number of super interesting people. Some of them are listeners still today. Some of them were listeners, have been on the show, and then continue to be listeners. Some people dip in and dip out. And for every single person who has ever listened to the show, whether it's you or someone you know, I appreciate you. It's been fun. The conversations have been fun. It's not always been super easy to get guests. It's not also always been super easy to talk to those guests, because some guests have had their own agenda and that hasn't aligned with what I want to give you guys as listeners. Always think that to tell a story, to tell someone's story interestingly, is for me super fascinating. And that's all I've tried to do across these 1,000 shows. Most people have allowed me to help them to tell their story, but others have tried to sell something and they're idiots. However, we have more good shows than we have bad shows. And of 1,000 shows, this is an interesting stat as well. I think I've only ever not published 2. One was because the guest asked not to. And the second one is because, unfortunately, I didn't have the mic levels turned up. So that was my fault. And I never managed to get that guest back on. However, the good news is, for show 1,000, I've managed to get a pretty special dude on. It's my dad. Some of you might say, why didn't you have him on before? I had Mum on in episode 854, January 2022. And I love chatting to her. She actually really enjoyed it as well. It's taken me a few more years to get my dad on. And I thought it would be a hell of a way to get to 1,000. I asked him questions I tried to put together questions that I didn't really know answers to, which is interesting. The experience I had interviewing my mum is one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And therefore, I thought I have this opportunity whilst he's still alive to interview my dad and ask him some questions that, as I said, I don't already know the answers to. The reason why I share that, and maybe I'm sounding a bit weird and waffly here, but if you have the opportunity to sit down with your parents and ask them questions that you don't know the answers to, but you'd quite like to, I really, really encourage you to do it. Dad was dad in the show. Nothing else like, or nothing different from maybe what you'd expect. And it was just awesome talking to him. It's a little bit longer, but this is the last show of 2025. This is show 1,000. I don't know what I'm going to do in January. I'll say that right now. I want to continue the show in some way, shape, or form. How that looks right now, I actually don't know. So I'm going to have a break over the Christmas period towards the end of the year here and pick it up again maybe mid to end of Jan. The reason why I also share that, this is the longest intro ever, is I'd be interested to hear if you've got ideas about the show, how I can make it better. Are the conversations good? Is it too short? Is it too long? Should we go on different tangents? Should we bring different people on? What should I do with the show? I'm really open. winning@innerfight.com. Please send an email. Let me know. I would love to hear what you think. But for now, this is an hour of my dad sharing, to be honest, gold, wisdom, emotion, inspiration, all of it. As I always say, no matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's jump into today's show. So now that we have microphones super close to the face, when was the last time you had a microphone in front of your face, Dad?
Probably 25 years ago.
What were you doing?
I was at the Dubai Intercontinental Hotel, opening a conference.
25 years ago at the Dubai, that was their hotel on the creek.
Yeah.
It's now Radisson Blue.
Yeah, which is completely spoiled.
Wasn't that the first 5-star hotel?
Well, there was the Sheraton at the end of the creek.
Yeah.
They both came about the same time. But our original office was almost next to the Intercontinental, so that's where we went for lunch. And
I was actually there last week, surprisingly. Me and Clarkie were down there. Emirates NBD have moved a certain section of their business banking back to that street.
Okay.
Which from here took us 45 minutes.
Not consumer friendly.
Not very consumer friendly. The plus point, actually, they've moved all of the DAOs to, I think it's called Deira Islands. Okay. So there's actually less traffic there. But yeah, we went past your old office.
Oh, right.
Where do we start? I guess what's interesting is tomorrow is 50 years since you became a father.
Yeah.
For the first time. This show will go out after that. But I know you as a father, and a lot of people that know you around here know you as a father. But what's interesting maybe is to tell us, before you were a father, who were you, what did you do, and what was life like? You can start anywhere you want.
Well, I won't spend a lot of time on school because I hated it, and a bit like you. And
we'll come to that later.
And it wasn't helped by the fact that my mum had a major disagreement with the headmaster, so I sort of had a red sticker on me, and I just didn't enjoy it at all, and I was just anxious to get away from it as soon as I possibly could.
Right.
And I did, and in those days, salesmen used to get really good cars, so I decided I wanted to be a salesman.
Right.
So I had to hang around for a year till I was 17, and I passed my test 5 days after I was 17 because my dad had let me drive the car on the road for practicing.
Illegally?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you used to let us drive the car on the desert here when we were kids.
So then I started, once I got my license, I started applying for salesmen's jobs, and I started on the road when I was 17 years old.
Let's go back to the first bit. Why did your mum have a problem with the school?
Well, it was a religious thing, and the headmaster was the first Catholic headmaster the school had ever had.
Right.
And my mum, coming from Ireland as a Protestant, there was immediately a disagreement, and she'd had a couple of meetings with him, and it didn't end well.
Oh, wow. So you were stuck in that school whilst she was disagreeing with him?
Yeah.
Oof. Desperate to leave?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the first job? More importantly, what was the first car you got then?
A Hillman Minx.
They're obviously not in
But
production.
I started working for a veterinary drug wholesaler, and we had vans. And so I drove a van for about a year, and then think this isn't the plan. So I then applied for another job, and I got a Hillman Minx.
Right.
And I progressed on from there.
And that car is obviously no longer in production.
No.
Is there a replacement?
It was a nice car. I mean, it was really good.
So I guess from that, growing up was the first thing was to get out of school.
Yeah.
And then because it's interesting, I think children growing up these days, and obviously a lot of parents listen to the show, have children growing up these days. The motivation for what we want to do is often predicated on very strange things. Like your situation was, I just wanted to get out of school, and salesmen drove nice cars. Was there other things that you wanted to be, or was the fact that get out of school, get a nice car, and everything will be okay?
No, well, I was always into sport. And funny enough, the school I went to was hockey and soccer. We didn't play rugby. And I got into rugby quite by accident. I was taking the bus into York one evening, and I met an old school friend, and I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to rugby training." So I said, "Rugby? Why rugby?" He said, "It's really good. You get either pie and peas or bangers and mash after training." So I was on the bus the next week.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how I started playing rugby.
How old were you when you started playing?
Well, I played for York first team when I was 16. Right. So I was quickly progressed into the first team, and that was it. Loved it.
All because you got a free feed afterwards.
Yeah, that was it. And we got it after training. Yeah. And we got it on a Saturday, and we also got free beer. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's funny, because I remember when I played at Harrogate when I was at university. We used to get paid petrol money, and we used to get paid to play. But one of the highlights was, it was only on a Thursday night. On a Tuesday or a Monday, they didn't give us dinner. But on a Thursday after training, they'd give us dinner.
Yeah.
And it was the Monday or Tuesday night, whatever day training was, lots of guys would just take off early. But Thursday after training, everyone would stay and have dinner. So all those years later, actually, the motivation was the same, right?
Yeah, so I never kicked a football ever again.
That's brilliant. But you guys lived quite far, not far, but it's, 15 miles from when you lived in Orne. It's far from the rugby club in York.
It's 10 miles.
10 miles.
Yeah.
So how did you get back and forward? Like, how did you move around?
Well, there was a regular bus service, and if anybody who lived nearby, most of the players were older than me, because I was only 16,
right? And
so they had cars, and they would pick me up, and otherwise it was a bus.
Why did you guys live outside of the town?
Why did we live?
Why did you live in Orne? Yeah.
My mother was matron of a Cheshire home, which was set up by Leonard Cheshire, who was an ex-fighter pilot, and he noticed a lot of people who'd been killed in action. There was no real place for them to go. Injured in action. There was no real place for them to go. And so he set up a number of homes throughout the country, and my mum was matron of one at Orne.
Wow. So they moved to there?
We moved to there, yeah, from York.
So from it was a small town or city. The classed as a city then? When does it move from a town to a city?
York's always been a city.
Always been a city.
Yeah.
To it's almost a country village.
Yeah.
So what did you do to entertain yourself when you'd finished hating school? How did you stay busy in the country village?
Well, there was a very active cricket team in summer, and just summer sports. And my dad was very sporting. My mum wasn't, but my dad was very sporting. So we used to, in summer, play a lot of cricket, and in winter I was playing rugby.
Really? So that was it?
That was it.
Do you think, it's interesting you say that, because your dad was very sporty, but your mum wasn't, but you got sport. For me, you were sporty, mum was very sporty, so that's why I think I got sport. But it's interesting that your mum wasn't that sporty, but you got sport. So is there an equation? Because we also see it these days, like some kids are super into sport. Even in the building here, we have some kids that love sport. Their parents never come. We have some parents that love coming and doing sports, whether it's in our endurance section or in the gym, but their children somehow are not interested in sports. How does the relationship of sports, or how do you think the relationship of sports plays out in families?
Well, as I said, my dad was sporting and he encouraged all three of us to do whatever it was. And even though it was a small village, there was three of us who were quite good at sport, particularly cricket. And we just encouraged each other. My two friends, they continued playing football. I went the rugby route, but in summer we would hook up for cricket.
Right.
And it was the village team, but it was a very good local cricket team.
So that sort of almost the community part just brought it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're the youngest of, you mentioned your brothers and sisters. It's not, don't worry guys, it's not like Mum's show where there was 11, 12 of them and it was confusing. You were 3 and you were the youngest.
Yeah.
What was it like being, I guess, in that era, the youngest of 3? Obviously, your brother went on to be a super successful consultant. How was your relationship with your brother and your sister when you were growing up?
Well, it wasn't a close relationship. My sister's 6 years older than me, so when I was starting senior school, she was on her way out, as it were, and she went very early to be a nurse. My brother, some people thought he was a bit odd.
Even now.
Yeah, he was very insular and just got on with life. He was one of those people that he was exceedingly bright. And I've often found that people who are exceedingly bright are introverted, and I think he was just overwhelmed with brains.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he obviously intelligent from? I mean, he's just over 2 years older than you, right?
3 years older.
3 years older. So you guys were close enough. Your sister, yeah, it's difficult because she's left school and you've just started. But when you guys were in school, did you notice that he was a lot different to the other kids? A lot more intelligent?
Because he always used whenever he had exams, he didn't bother revising. He just passed them. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
That's annoying.
And it is. Because I used to study a little bit and just scrape through.
Did he know what he wanted to do for a career?
Yeah, I think so, because he was influenced by my sister. By the time he was leaving school, was a nurse, a qualified nurse, and my mum was a matron, and he wanted to go that way, and he was the youngest secretary at Westminster Hospital in London in his early 20s. So I mean, he was on the ladder very early.
I mean, he went to America and he built a huge sort of consultancy business in healthcare.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I've only just really put that together, because that's where, like you say, that's where your mum was and that's where Ruth went, your sister.
Yeah.
It's funny or I'll rephrase that, as time passes, the relationship that people have with the people they grow up with, siblings, starts to change because people go in different directions. Obviously, John went to America, but you went in a number of different directions as well. You went to, you went down to London. I was going to say up to London. You went to Africa. You tell the story. You went all over with your work.
Yeah, well, after I sort of got a job with a company called Sterling Winthrop, who were very inventive. They invented paracetamol under the brand name Panadol, which was under patent for 20 years. So that was one of our big products. They also invented the first liquid soap that was used by surgeons in hospital, a product called Pfizer Hex. So it was a good company to be with, and I was with them 7 years, and I actually had 7 different jobs. They were quite dynamic. I mean, they moved me to London, then they moved me back up north, and then they moved me back to London, and that's how it was in those days. I mean, big sales forces. There'd be 100 salesmen and 100 lady merchandisers, so it was big.
Wow. So how did you end up working and traveling to Africa?
Well, in the mid-70s, OPEC got together and oil touched $40 a barrel. So I said to Mum, I'm going to the Middle East. And she said, why and where? I said, I've no idea, but that's where the money's going to be in the next few years. Wow. So I finished up in 76 in Jeddah, working for a big food importer. I had a 1-year contract. Jeddah was hell. It was 80% dropout rate of people didn't stay the first year. Wow. There was nothing to do, no television, no radio, no English newspapers. There was just nothing. We worked 6 days a week, and on a Friday we'd just go to the beach. Wow. After 3 months, I was offered a job back in England by the headhunters who placed me in Jeddah. And I said, no, I've said I'm going to stay a year. I want the work experience, and I don't want 3 months in Jeddah on my CV. I want 12 months. So he came back to me and said, they'll wait for you. Wow. So I was in Jeddah knowing I could have left at any time, but I just wanted 12 months on my CV.
And Claire was 1 year old?
Yeah. Oof. So I stayed for a year, and then I joined a company as sales director for the Middle East, and it was a mess. It was a real mess. So I managed to sort that out, and then they said, can you sort out Africa? And that's how it went on until the end of 82. I was in Dubai, and I was offered a job for our then current distributor.
Okay.
And I rang them up and said, look, I've been offered a really good job in Dubai, and we just had a beautiful kitchen put in our nice house.
Holly will be listening.
And she said, what about my kitchen? So I said, well, it'll be there when we come back. I'm only going for 2 years. And so we came to Dubai January the 4th, 1983. Wow. And you're still here.
You're still here? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Let's go back a second to 1976 in Jeddah. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, for people that are in this region, Saudi Arabia now is booming. Some of the projects they've got there are maybe debatable how they're going to go. But you went there in the 70s because oil had touched $40 probably for the first time, right?
Yeah, really.
You said something there that there was nothing to do. There was no television, no radio, no English newspapers. How did you stay? Because we're in a world now where there's so much to do and people can't stay focused. How do you stay focused, and how did you get through that year with such a basic sort of existence?
Well, there was a number of expats working for the company, there was an Australian guy who was seconded from the Australian Dairy Board and another English guy. And we just used to help each other, go to the beach on a Friday, and we worked long hours.
Right.
And it was quite interesting. When I've been there a few days, and I went to see the boss Ali, and I said, I've got a few questions. And he said, okay, what's that? I said, there doesn't appear to be any work hours, when the office opens, when it closes. And I said, I'm trying to get a grip on how many people work here. And I said, also, I'm trying to find out what our turnover is and what our profit is. And he turned around and said, well, that's why I've employed you.
But he hadn't told you this before you got there.
So I said, well, could we establish some basic work hours because it seemed that they knew what time he was coming to the office, and they would arrive 5 minutes early. And then if he went out, whatever time it was, the office just emptied, and that was it. And it actually took me 6 months to find out how many people worked for the company, because in those days, people would just disappear for 3 or 4 months, and then they'd come into the office, and I'd say, well, who are you? And they'd say, I'm the Nestle salesman.
Really?
Yeah. Well, where have you been? Well, I went back to Africa, and my mum was sick, so I had to stay a bit longer.
Wow.
And that's how it was. I never did find out the turnover.
Really?
Yeah.
So Ali didn't know either?
No, he had no idea.
Wow. So it's interesting, how does a company like that function?
Well, they had some very good agencies like Nestle and Johnson's Wax and different big FMCG products.
Right.
And in fact, it was Nestle who said to Ali, you've got to get a European in here to try and sort this out.
Right.
And that's how I got there. I never did sort most of it out, but when I left, I looked at what it was like when I arrived and what it was like when I left, and I was pretty happy with the achievement. But as I said, I had no idea what the sales were.
What do you think when you sort of look, I guess, at the state of industry now and technology and the way that things work in the world in businesses, and you put it next to an experience like that? Have we developed, or are we better off now? Or was that sort of, this guy's mum's sick in Africa, he'll be back in 3 months, that's kind of okay. What is one world better than another?
Well, I preferred the old world, of course, because that's how I grew up. And It was funny, towards the end of running the company in Dubai as general manager, I was getting increasingly frustrated and annoyed by graduates coming in with lots of papers that they'd read, but no idea. And I find it interesting that my daughter, your sister, she does a similar job to what I used to do when I first started. And she goes to countries for like 24 hours, 36 hours. I mean, I would go for 3 days, and because there was no information available, so no market research, nothing. So you had to go to the market to see what was happening on with your competitors.
And that's where you understand, right?
Yeah.
I always remember that. That's probably one thing that I learned, like, especially, I remember when I think I was 15 or 16, and you put me in van sales in your company, and I spent the whole day, it was like 50 degrees, and this guy was driving around Sharjah trying to sell, what was that brand? Bars of soap or something. And I was like, geez, this is brutal. But every grocery store we went to, and these were small grocery stores in Sharjah or in the Northern Emirates, the van sales guy would talk to the shopkeeper, and they'd talk in Urdu or something like that. But when we got back in the van, I would ask him, like, what were you talking about? And it's almost like you were saying there, he was gathering information about the market, and about what products and what prices, and when he was talking, he was making notes on the back of almost cigarette packets, I think. But yeah, that way of learning is almost like it's hands-on, and I guess that's why you probably wish it was like it was then now, because you feel the learning as opposed to just reading something on the internet. Is it true? Isn't it true?
Right.
Or just using ChatGPT. It's a difficult equation because we can't stop what's happening. So do you ever think you've got two grandsons who are, one's a teenager, one's coming to a teenager. What do you think looking forward? Like, what might their work look like in 10 years?
I really have no idea.
Really?
No, I mean, it's just changed so much. Now, I mean, I don't have much contact with my old company, but when I talk to people who are still in the business, like my mate Ronnie here, he's still in the business, and we have these conversations that I hardly understand.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just moved so fast. I preferred the old days because people... It was more alive. You know, you knew what was happening, and people would come and you'd negotiate prices and reselling schedules and all that sort of thing. Whereas now it's all organised and at head office. You know?
Yeah. It's interesting that, because if you think about those couple of things, like the community aspect of ON, the community aspect of sport, it's almost like you were brought up talking to people and having that contact. So that's obviously how you want to do business. But now it's silent, isn't it? You're right.
Yeah.
You know.
And that was one of the reasons that led me to resign my position and go and live in Spain because I just didn't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Where that mindset though, because it's hard work living in Saudi for a year with those conditions is hard work. Leaving Mum and Claire in the UK and being there is hard. Being in Africa is hard. Where do you think that, I don't know, is it a gene of hard work? Was it passed down from your mum or from your dad, or? Definitely from my mum. She'd had a very hard life.
Her father had been shot, and her mother died when she was young, and she was sent to England as a 16-year-old. She wanted to be a nurse, but in those days in Ireland you had to pay for your training.
Right.
Whereas in England it was free. So one of her aunties bought her a ticket from Ireland to England, got her a job in Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, and that was it.
Wow.
So she had a very hard start.
Yeah. And how do you think that her mindset and her personality of hard work, how did it come into you? Like, how was it did you feel it was forced on you, or was it just that was Mum and she did things like that and you wanted to copy it?
No, I mean, when I was in the village, it was just accepted that in different seasons you'd go and work at the farm. You'd go picking potatoes by hand. In summer, you'd go helping collect the corn and the straw and all that sort of thing. And we all did it, you know. And
wow,
that it was just accepted that the boys would go and help the farmer in the season. And we got paid, but I mean, I can tell you, picking potatoes by hand for 8 hours is...
In winter?
No, it was sort of autumn.
Still.
But I mean, there's not enough money that can pay you to do that.
What do you think? That's a good question. What's the hardest job you've ever done?
Oh, I can't. It was tough in Saudi, particularly when I'd been offered a job back in England. And the interesting thing, when you did occasionally meet somebody in Saudi and you'd ask them, the first question was, how long have you been here?
Right.
And the answer would be something like 3 months, 2 weeks, and 5 days. Really? It really was like that. And then the next question was, when are you leaving?
No way.
Yeah, those were guaranteed the first 2 questions. Wow. And everybody knew to the day. And I mean, I had a calendar at the side of my bed, and every morning when I got up, I would cross a day off.
Wow.
And
that's hard.
It particularly when I knew I had a really good job, but I was just determined that I wasn't going to be one of the 80% and go back. And
that's maybe why I don't give up too easily then.
So yeah, I mean, Saudi was tough.
Yeah, that's what do you, those things that you learn, like it's easy now to look back and to say, okay, you know, that was hard and that's why I did that. And like we've done, you know, it came from my mom and this, that, and the other. When you became a father 50 years ago tomorrow, did you have ideals or values that you thought, this I'm not going to skip on. I'm going to make sure, you had a daughter, you had Claire first. I'm going to make sure that I've been passed this down. I'm going to consciously make sure that this is a value or a behavior that remains? Or did you just continue to live the way that you'd been taught?
No, I thought it was important that both you and Claire were aware of values, different values, and discipline and honesty, which I wouldn't say it was drummed into me, but I was told from an early age that you've got to be honest. You're a Yorkshireman, so you don't owe anybody any money. You pay your debts as you go along, and just basic disciplines like that. And I thought it was important that you and Claire had the same values.
Yeah, it's interesting because I often think, like, if someone asks me to describe you, is always quite sort of black and white, honesty, and that's probably why honesty and simplicity are brand values of the company that we built here, InnerFight. And also the other thing outside of that is, I always remember you telling me, and you were always super good at maths. You said just be good at maths.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, I suppose from my mother's side, my dad was a pretty easygoing, happy-go-lucky guy who was very supportive to my mum and to the family. Whereas my mum, she worked really hard. When she took over this Cheshire home, it was in a bit of a mess, and she really worked hard to sort it out.
Knowing or thinking about those sort of values, black and white thinking, simplicity and honesty, do you think a lot of that has changed over the last 30 or 40 years in humans? Or do you think we've always had an evil side to us and like blowing each other up for no reason at all?
Well, I think there is a bit of a problem with the internet now and the way that people abuse one another and they say things online that they would never dream of saying face to face. And lots of people are offended for no valid reason. And lots of people are looking for something that isn't real, you know, sort of an apology for something that didn't really happen, you know, or wasn't detrimental to their lifestyle. And that's why I don't do social media.
Yeah. But it's interesting though, because you consume that sort of content and you're privy to that of often abuse and animosity through simple things. Like you like to read the newspaper and there's the comment section and people just start lashing out at each other exactly like you just said. And you may be reading it just going, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So what can we do better as human beings when it comes to things like that? Should they turn off the comment section? Should there be no sort of freedom of speech, or should it be limited?
Well, I was reading this morning in the paper, there's a new word evolving called chubbing. Do you know what chubbing is?
No.
Chubbing is when man and woman or family go out to dinner and they all sit there on their phones rather than talking to each other.
Really?
They're chubbing.
Where does the word come from?
Well, I don't know. I only read it this morning, but you see it so often that wherever you go, I mean, mum, dad, 2 kids, they've all got phones and iPads and nobody's talking to each other.
That's a problem, huh?
Yeah. And this word is, I just read it this morning, chubbing. So
we'll have to find where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're already seeing that families go to restaurants, and based on what we've been talking about a lot, which is family values, which are ingrained, which were from your mum, from her situation, to you, to your situation, to me. I've not passed anything on to anyone, but that's a whole other story. But you taught us those things in those situations. When we went to a restaurant, there were certain rules that, I guess they are rules that we had to follow.
Yeah.
But if they're removed because everyone's chubbing, we're in... do you think we get to a point where kids are nothing like their parents because they're not passing anything on?
Well, they're not communicating, are they? I mean, it's pretty sad, really. I mean, we always had a basic rule is that we had dinner together, sat at the table.
Yes.
Breakfast, you can have it whenever you want, do what you like, lunch, whatever. But we always sat at the dinner table with no TV and talked. And I think that is important, but it doesn't happen now.
Happens with me and Holly.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, the average family, it just doesn't happen. And I mean, the when I travel, I see kids who can only be 2 years old or less with iPads, and they're in a restaurant and the parents are ignoring them.
Yeah, I think it's going to take more than this show to solve that.
Well,
let's jump back to your paper. A lot of people that know you around here, Dad, see you swim most mornings. If you're not swimming, you're in the gym. You're up early. You have a really solid sort of daily routine. Talk us through like what it is and maybe why it's important to you and how it serves you. Having, for some people would say, for a guy who's 78, doesn't really have to be anywhere and anything. He's always on time. He's in the pool at 6:30 and doesn't hang around. And what is daily routine to you? How does it look like? How does it serve you?
Well, I've always exercised, and I've actually got a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet for every activity I've done in the last 35 years. I was looking at, updating it when I was in York last week, and it's got all the activities that I used to do, like running and cycling and swimming and golf and all those sort of things, and I still keep it. So you might say it's a bit of an addiction to keep the spreadsheet going.
You're talking to an audience that uses an app called Training Peaks, which is more addictive.
But
so
I mean,
okay.
This morning when I came, I said to Islam, the pool guy, I'm a bit sleepy today. I'm just going to swim, not my normal lengths. And I got in the pool, and after a few lengths, I felt really good. So I just continued swimming. And when you get out, I just feel so much better than when I got in. And it's the same when I go to the gym. I just feel the benefits of going. It's not, sometimes it feels like a bit of a chore, but once I'm into it, then...
Do you wake up some days and think, can't be bothered to go to the pool?
No, because on my spreadsheet I've got rest days, so I can't get too many, otherwise I get red lights flashing on my spreadsheet.
Do you think that having that spreadsheet for 35 years has it's a diary, it's a log, it's honesty, it's accountability? Do you think that's what's enabled you and maybe even motivated you to keep going at times?
It certainly helped.
Yeah.
But as I said, I felt a lot better this morning. I swam from 7 till 7:30. When I got out of the pool, I felt an awful lot better than when I got in. So
let's talk a little bit about mental fitness. As we said, you like to read the newspaper. I remember when I was a kid, you used to get the Telegraph, but it was one day late, and I could never really understand who would read a paper that's one day old. But you've always read a lot. Where did that come from? And tell us a few of your habits and routines around reading and mental fitness.
Well, I think I go back to Jeddah, because I used to write to Mum 6 days a week. And every day I would write 3 pages.
Wow.
And if I'd had more to say, I would stop at 3 pages and start the next day, because I didn't want her to think that I was unhappy or whatever. I didn't want to send 2.5 pages, so I always sent 3 pages. And some days I would write 6 pages, but the second 3 I would put the next day's date on.
Did you tell her that?
Only when I got back, yeah.
Amazing.
And it seems in a place with nothing to do that I could write 3 pages, but I managed to do it. And the only reason I wrote 6, not 7, was there was no post on a Friday, so
oh really?
That was it. Wow. And so you've always enjoyed writing. I mean, I remember when you used to write to me at school. I used to get 1 letter a week, and it used to take me a week to be able to read it because your handwriting was so bad. Yeah,
I was over the moon when you got a computer in the 90s. I used to have to get the teachers to read the letters because I couldn't. Then I didn't want them to read something if you'd written something bad about them. But the behavior was started in Saudi. But you have this ability to read a newspaper, which is rare, even for someone. I'm 47 soon, and it's rare that I would never read a newspaper from cover to cover.
Well, I don't read it from cover to cover. I mean, today being Sunday, it would be impossible to read the Sunday Times from cover to cover. Yeah. But I read, I normally skim through the sports section, and then I go to the comments, because they have some really good writers. And I often read the writers' comments and read the comments of the comments and that sort of thing. And you get a really interesting mix of views.
So you're not just taking what the journalist said, you're also, because there's probably some super intelligent people reading that newspaper.
Yeah.
And they're giving their, so this is a benefit of technology and the way things are changing.
I sometimes read the comments before the article because I sometimes, and then people can be getting wound up about something and I think, I might read the article now.
So if it's fiery in the comments, it's worth reading the article.
Yeah.
What else do you do to keep to train your mind, to keep mental fitness? You've been retired for 20, almost 30 years.
Well, at the moment, I do 2 Sudokus every day, and at the moment, I'm halfway through the Sunday Times fiendish one,
Right.
which will probably take an hour out of my day.
Yeah.
And then every afternoon, I read whatever's available. I just read it. I prefer a book rather than a Kindle.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I had books before I had Kindles, really.
Yeah. Do you ever... You're probably good at being bored or not having lots of distractions because of the time that year that you spent in Saudi Arabia. But lots of people speak about boredom. Is there such a thing? Like, do you feel boredom or is it something else?
I never feel bored. I never feel itchy. Mum used to get bored and get itchy and let's go out and where are we going to go and what are we going to do, and just the need to go out. I don't have that need. Loneliness is different to boredom. Sometimes you feel a bit lonely, but what am I going to do to overcome that? And you just have to deal with it, really. Yeah. And this is life. So, no, I mean, I keep going back to Jeddah, but I think if you spent 12 months in Jeddah, you understand.
Did you feel lonely in Jeddah?
No, not really, because I was on a work experience and it became a challenge.
Yeah.
And it was just, well, it was a challenge, and I went for work experience. Yeah. Okay, financially, it was very lucrative.
Yes.
Because there's nowhere to go, nothing to do.
Yeah.
So whatever I earned
was perfect. All yours.
That's what I got.
Yeah. 1983, you said it quite a few minutes ago, January the 4th, 1983, you brought the four of us arrived in Dubai. Dubai was obviously very different then. Everyone has kind of figured that out. They've seen old pictures. What did you have in your mind at that time? Like, why was this a good thing to do?
Well, I'd been visiting since 77, 78 in my job. So I used to come here 3 or 4 times a year, and I would always weekend in Dubai because it was the best place to spend a weekend. So I knew it quite well, and I knew what to expect. And the company that employed me had been my agent for a number of years, so I knew the personalities within that company.
Right.
So for me, it was not a big step.
Right.
It was a bigger one for Mum, but she was always supportive. Whatever I wanted to do, when I said I was going to Jeddah, she said, "Okay, see you when you get back."
3 pages a day,
and that sort of thing. And it was obviously a new experience for you and Claire. But I think it was a good experience.
Did you have a preconception in your mind? Okay, I have this young family. We'll go here for a couple of years. Did you have a vision of what you wanted it to be, or a time frame of what you wanted it to be?
Well, my initial contract was for 2 years, but shortly after I got here, the guy who started the company fell out with the sponsor, and they got into a bit of a dispute, and he left within 6 months of we come in. The sponsor bought him out, and he left. So I then met with the sponsor. We didn't know each other, and I said, look, I've just come here. I've been here a few months. I've got a young family. I'm supposed to be here for 2 years, but I don't know what your view is. So he said, well, stay around and let's see if we get on. And a couple of weeks later, he came into the office and said, yeah, everything's fine. I'd like you to be general manager. I've no idea what I haven't seen your contract. Can you give us some idea? So I wrote him
a new one.
wrote a nice contract, and I did that job for nearly 20 years.
Wow.
And he was an exceedingly good guy. He was a local sheikh, Sharjah sheikh, charming man. We never had an issue in 20 years.
Wow. When you look back on it, do you ever think should have left after 5 years, or there was an opportunity after 10 years, or do you ever have any thoughts that you should have done things different?
Not really, because the very high standard of living, and Mum was happy. You probably weren't that happy in boarding school, but you would have been in boarding school wherever I lived, that sort of thing. I was, after a number of years, offered a job in Thailand for one of our suppliers, and I had a look at it, and I thought I was going to be better in Dubai, so I turned it down. It was a big job. It wasn't any better than what I was doing in Dubai, so I just didn't.
Was there a point, sort of within that time that you were here, that you, I guess maybe you accepted, or you said to yourself, yeah, this is good, I'm enjoying it, and I'll stay here for, until...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's how it was.
And then, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but what made you leave was you just stopped enjoying it.
I got bored.
Not sure if everyone listening, if you get bored, you should just retire, but some should try it though, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
What do you think what keeps people going? Like when they're bored, it just becomes painful, right?
Well, it's strange because I was exceedingly well paid and all the benefits that came with the job, and I could have continued probably till today doing the same job. I mean, when I told the sheikh that I wanted to leave, he wouldn't accept it, and in the end I wrote to him and said, we've had this discussion a number of times, I'm out of here by the end of the year. and he came straight to the office and, I didn't think you were serious. I said, I'm honestly not enjoying the job anymore, and once I don't enjoy it, I can't do it properly. So,
which is the opposite of not a lot of people, but there are a number of people that nowadays they do stuff that they don't enjoy, but they continue to do it.
But that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember, and maybe we've answered this question, but in 2000, I think it was in 2003, when I was called from Australia, and they said, come, we want you to come and play rugby. And I called you and I said, we need to have a chat. And we had a chat. And I remember you said, just go. What was it? Why did you say go? I had a good job. I was building my career in sales. No surprises there. What gave you the confidence to say, yeah, this is the right thing, go and live in Australia?
I think if you hadn't have done it, later in life you would have regretted it. And the situation in Dubai was, if it didn't work out for you there after a few months, you could have come back and re-established yourself. It wasn't high risk as far as I could see. It was a golden opportunity to go and do something. And as I said, you would have regretted it if you didn't do it.
Because I think of it a lot. Because you speak to a lot of people, they're like, oh, I wish I could go there.
Yeah.
Or I want to go there. Or I'm going there. But they never go.
No.
And I think that's why, even with the company, like I had a good job in Adidas and in Nike, and then I just wanted to set up the company InnerFight and just do what we're still doing now. But this, yeah, I guess I didn't want to have regrets, but there's a lot of people that just, they won't do those things. But I guess the mindset, like you say, you don't want someone to have regrets. But how do you, what I'm trying to get to is, if someone's struggling, how do you have that mindset that you've just shared, that just go, everything, this place will be, I know that's what you said, Dubai will still be here.
Yeah.
And we're 22 years later and it's still here.
I just think that, like, for me, the opportunity to go to Thailand, I had a look at it and I turned it down and I didn't regret it because I wasn't really doing something that I really wanted to do. I was happy in Dubai. I had a really good job. Company was successful and that sort of thing. And I just didn't see Thailand as somewhere where I wanted to live.
Right. So it's not always, there has to be some alignment. There has to be some feeling, and then just go for it. I guess this one is a little bit opportunity for you to give me a hard time, but for people only really hear my voice in me projecting. I had Holly on show 999 last week. Don't think she gave me too much of a hard time, but how was I as a kid? Where was I good? Where was I bad? Now you're laughing already. You like this opportunity.
There was two things that have always stuck in my mind, and I've told it many times. The first was when we were members of the Hilton Beach Club, we used to let you sign on a weekend for a Coke and ice cream and that sort of thing. And I can't remember what it was. You'd been out of order, but I said to you, next weekend you can't sign for ice cream. And you said to me, no bother, I've got loads of mates. And sure enough, the next Friday there you were with a Coke and an ice cream.
I don't even remember that.
You don't remember it? No. Well, you used to sign every Friday
that
for
I
Coke
remember.
and ice cream. So I said to Mum, look at him. I can't remember what it was. The second thing is, when you're at Des, Mum used to pick you up. And as you know, she wasn't a good timekeeper, but at Des, you could say supervise for about another hour. One day, you rang me up on my direct line and said, Dad, Mum's late, I'm in a hurry, send the driver. And more or less hung up on me.
Keeping it simple.
So when I got home, I said to Mum, I've got to have a word with him. So we sat down and I said, you do realise that it's my driver and not yours. And you said to me, was he busy?
I'm not seeing a problem yet.
And I said to Mum, we have to do something. And there was some other instances similar.
I can't believe you've not told any good stories.
There was other instances, and I said it's very difficult in Dubai to instill discipline into people. Not that you've got to go around and be really difficult, but on basic things, like you can't have an ice cream on Friday, and there you are having ice cream and Coke.
Jeez, you're not a parent these days. You fight that every day, I think, and then they've got Apple Pay.
yeah, well, that's true.
That's interesting. I guess for people that have seen you in the community, everyone knows who you are. You know, I think, who everyone is, and you obviously say hello to a lot of people. My question here is, when you see the InnerFight community, and you see, and I know because we talk about it, we talk about the coaches, we talk about like people's success, what makes them successful, all of these things. What do you think it is? Why is this community, why does it thrive? Why do we have happy people around? I mean, you've lived here in Olivara we're just going into the 5th year. Like, what makes it successful?
I think you've got basic disciplines in the gym that I'll claim credit come from me.
Yeah,
right?
100%. I want you to.
Your classes start a minute early, which I think is good. And there's just a general harmony. And when new people come, I'm quite a good judge of people. When they come, I think, well, you know, I don't think that person's going to really work out, and can't always put your finger on it. But when Mum was here, I'd say, that guy's a bit strange, or something like that. He won't fit in, because you've got to portray happiness, haven't you, and make people welcome and talk to people, and I think you're very successful in doing that. And that, if you do it, then it rubs off on other people, and I'm sure if any of your staff don't do it, you'll have a word with them and say, well, you know.
Do you see a certain type of, you have to be nice to them here, Dad, do you see a certain type of person, like customer, that we attract? And if so, what do you think, like, why do we attract the type of people that we attract here?
Well, I remember talking to a guy in Spain, and his brother lived in Dubai, and he worked out, and we were chatting. He was the finance guy, so I used to see him every 2 or 3 months. And he said to me, my brother's said it's the best gym in Dubai by miles, but it's expensive. And I said, well, you know, do you want to be the worst and the cheapest? And you give quality. I had this when I was working. Suppliers used to come to me and say, you're quite an expensive organisation. You take a high margin. And I used to say, do we do a good job? And they said, oh, yeah, you're really good. So I said, well, you don't get quality for nothing. And I think that's here. You've got real quality from coming in the door with the receptionist. They smile at you. They say hello. And they're all the same. You go to the cafe, people smile at you and say hello. And it spreads, and that makes people, oh, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we obviously spend a lot of time on those things, and actually some people don't recognize them. But I think the right people, or the people that we want, will recognize them.
Yeah.
Which is hard, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's an interesting scenario. I guess if we stay on InnerFight, and preconceptions or trying to see into the future, did you think that I would build a gym like this?
I think I saw the qualities in you that you would be successful. I mean, Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably not as it is now, but I always thought once you decided to go on your own, you would be successful because I'm determined. Mum was very strong-minded as well.
Yeah.
I mean, very strong-minded. So you've obviously inherited that from Mum. And I mean, she didn't really start running till in her 30s or something like that.
Yeah.
But as you know, she was in Dubai. She won every race she went to. She went, and it didn't matter what the distance was. She won, and she's very, very strong-minded. So you've obviously inherited that from her. And if you want to succeed, you just have to try a bit harder and push a bit harder.
That's a pretty good way to finish it up, isn't it? I was going to say, what's your closing bit of advice? But I think that's it. And I think that's the key. And that's where some people are struggling, aren't they? They're just not willing to work a little bit harder and push a little bit harder.
Right. Yeah.
That's what separates in any playing field, whether it's the rugby field, whether it's the business field, the guy who just wants it and is, like you say, a bit more determined, ready to sit in Jeddah and write 3 pages a day and all of that. Yeah. Dad, thank you very much. Did you enjoy that?
Thank you. Yeah, really good.
That's good. That's shown. It's only taken me 1,000 shows to get you on. What was Mum? Mum was 854.
Okay.
Holly was 999 because I thought that was quite a good one because when I'm in trouble or if I'm in trouble with her, we call 999. But thank you very much for being my 1,000th guest. And as I said in the intro, guys, that is it for 2025. There's not any more shows. I can't better this show this year. We'll try and better it next year when we come back. Maybe a different show, maybe in a different way. We'll see. But Dad, I love you. Thank you so much. That was good.
Thanks for having me.